Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderfall Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today, we're going to be talking about the Cinderfall Gaming Grand Tournament. So this was an event that I hosted along with my wife over the weekend, just gone, and we're going to do a little bit of a chat. We'll talk about the top list, we'll talk about what happened and all that sort of stuff. Mostly going through the list here. We'll have some other videos later in the week talking about other parts of the tournament and what I want to talk about. But this one is going to be primarily talking about the list, those that won. We'll take a good look at the top few lists in this. But yeah, so Cinderfall Gaming Grand Tournament, we had 24 players in the end, battling it out, 5 games over 2 days. We had a clear 5-0 winner, and we had maybe one surprise in our top 4. For an army that maybe people don't think is going to get up there in that sort of top 3 bracket, which was really nice. We had a pretty decent field. We'll go through all of that in detail. And there were a lot of players, both new and old, to our scene attending the event, which was nice. And so let's get cracking on. First of all, we'll look at the field and the scenarios that were played throughout the event, and then we'll go into looking at the top lists. And so, before we get into the lists themselves, let's talk a little bit about the field and the final standings. So, we had 3 Stormcast Eternal lists at the event. Now, one of these was the Gumby list, that's what I was playing, and it was a Star Drake with a bunch of Paladins in Knights Excelsior. We then had Yndrastis and Paladins and some Vigilors in Knights Excelsior as well, and then we had a Hammers of Sigmar army list that has sort of like a 3 places of power part to it that had 4 Fulminators, the Prime, and then a unit of 6 long strikes. And that was sort of like 3 different places of power able to deal damage from those 3 points. We now had 3 Soulblight Gravelords. These were the only 2 armies where we had 3 of. The Soulblight Gravelords were all very different. We had a Nagash build in there with Nagash at its core, and then a couple of other pieces around him. We then had a Vrykos build with Radicala Beast, Belladama, Manfred, all in the one list. Then we had a Legion of Night list with some Vargas and Manfred. 2 Caradron Overlords armies. One of them was pretty stock standard, what you expect to see from Caradron, guys in boats, all that. The other one was a little bit interesting, had a few more tools. We talked about this on the list review show, on that it had a Rune Smiter, Rune Father, whichever one that allows you to deep strike someone, plus some Hurkar Berserkers in there for a really nice sort of allied point. It was a Barak Thring army. 2 Sons of Behemoth army. One was the 4 Mega Gargant army with a double wizard, and then the other one was 3 Megas with 3 babies, all were singular. 2 Sylvaneth armies, both pretty similar, going with the spell portal and the ability of the Warsong Revenant to cast multiple sort of damage through it. Both had Alariel, both had pieces around that. Pretty similar. 2 Ironjawz armies, both double cabbage. One had more brutes, one was literally all pigs along with the double cabbage. 2 Slaves to Darkness armies, one of them was a Slaanesh themed army with lots of knights in it, and the other one was a Archaon Be'lakor combo with some Varangard and other pieces around. A horror spam Host Arcanum Disciples of Tzeentch army, he Knights of Slaanesh with a bit of everything sort of mixed into it. A multiple Great Unclean One and Glotkin all in the same list for the Maggotkin and Nurgle. Blades of Korn were a Scarbrand Be'lakor Bloodthirster combo. And then had Idoneth Deepkin with Ilspam and a big unit of 20 Reavers, as well as the Eidolon and the Leviathan. Skaven Tide was a cool 3 place of power sort of army list as well, very similar to the Stormcast list I talked about just before. This had Thanquol, 6 Storm Fiends, and then a unit of 30 Storm Vermin, as well as like 3 major places of power, and then a Squig Heavy Gloomspike Gitz army with 3 Manglers. The final standings for the event, though, so we had Sons of Behemoth. We had the 4 Mega Sons of Behemoth list in first. We then had the Disciples of Tzeentch Horror Spam, Host Arcanum in second, and the Skaven army in third. Slaves to Darkness coming fourth, that was our Be'lakor Archaon combo. Ironjawz in fifth was the Pig army. Blades of Korn, Ironjawz the other one, Idoneth Deepkin, the other Sons of Behemoth, and then our top-ranking Soulblight Gravelords army for the event. But only because it had a draw rather than a minor loss, as the second one did. So the top 2, we had the Legion of Night army actually in 10th, and then we had the Vrykos build in 11th, and of course the last one there is the Nagash. All pretty well placed though. And then, yeah, there's the rest of them down below, but we're going to focus on the top 3 armies in this when we go into deep dive, because they were the only ones that managed to achieve a 4-1, or in the case of our winners, a 5-0 result. There was every chance we would have a 4-1 winner, Going to the last round, the 5-0 played one of the highest ranked 4-1s, and he did actually knock off, I think, everyone except 4th place. The Sons of Behemoth beat on its way to the top, so pretty good run. Like, it's clear it should have won, and we were all pretty certain that the Archaon just couldn't put out the damage to get rid of the Gargant, so we were pretty happy that it went 5-0. I mean, it went 5-0, none of the other armies did. All the other armies knocked each other off, so clear 5-0. So let's get looking at these lists. And so here we have our first place list. As mentioned, this was the only 5-0 list at the event. And so this was Mark running this. He had a run of playing Sylvaneth, Tzeentch, which came second, Skaven, which came third, Sons of Behemoth, and Ironjaws, which came fifth. So he had a pretty good run of it all. And so he was playing in the Taker tribe. This is the one where the Gargants start counting as more when holding objectives. It's really, really solid. You get extra artifacts and all that sort of stuff as well. The grand strategy holds the line. I mean, all the Megas become battle lines, so this is just a fantastic grand strategy for Gargants. Leader, we had a Kraken Eater, Mega Gargant, because it has to be. That's how you get the Taker tribe. Command trait, monstrously tough, giving an extra 5 wounds there. And then the artifact Glowy Lantern on that one, and Flaming Weapon. This means it gets to have a spell. Flaming Weapon on a Gargant is just super solid. We then had a Gatebreaker Mega Gargant with the artifact Amulet of Destiny. The Gatebreaker with a 5-up ward is just incredibly good. It's really solid here. What you see is the monstrously tough and the Amulet of Destiny put on different Gargants. This means that 2 Gargants are harder to kill. Rather than just stacking them on and having this one super unkillable Gargant, he's made both these Gargants harder to remove, thus just making the list in overall generally better. We then have a second Kraken Eater Mega Gargant, which has got the artifact, the Arcane Tome, and taking Flaming Weapon as well. So he's got Flaming Weapon on both his Gargants here. This just gives him the utility. He can also cast Mystic Shield and Arcane Bolt and all that sort of stuff. Generally, it would be Flaming Weapon on the one that's going to be in combat, and Mystic Shield on the other one, either on itself or casting on the one that's going to charge in combat and use Flaming Weapon on itself. Lastly, we just got a War Stomper Mega Gargant to round out the list. I'm pretty sure he's got the 3 different ones here, simply because he has one of each. I would say, like, the better list would probably be trying to find a way to get one of the other ones in, potentially. But, yeah, it's pretty solid here. Battle line, obviously, they all become battle line in this army. Their leader, battle line, and then core battalions, 2 bosses of the stomp, both taking magnificent, giving him the extra 2 artifacts he needs for the list. So this comes to 1975. He didn't actually pick a triumph for the event. I don't think he ever used it anyway or needed it. No reinforced units, no allies. 140 wins in 4 models is super solid, and 4 drops. So a really solid list here. This went 5-0, like I said. It took out some really strong competition. It did get a little bit lucky, maybe in the last round, with some good save rolls from against the Ironjaws. And the Skaven and Tzeentch definitely pushed it in different sort of ways. But a really solid list, and well deserving of the first place. And then coming in second, we had Mr. Alexander Krohn of Aethercast. Yes, he's not playing Kharadron Overlords. He is a filthy trader, and remind him that every time you see him on Aethercast. But he had a decently good run as well. So he played Sylvaneth, the other Sylvaneth army than what was played by the Sons of Behemoth round 1. He then played our eventual winner, Mark, in the second round. He then played Ironjaws, which was our ranked 5th Ironjaws that was fighting against Mark for the shot at the win in the last round. Slave to Darkness was his 4th game. This was the Archaon Bellicor combo. And then he played Ideneth Deepkin in the last round. And so he was playing with Tzeentch, not Kharadron Overlords, in the Host Arcanum, Grand Strategy, Prize Sorcery, and the Triumph Inspired. I mean, Prize Sorcery is just great when you're playing with Tzeentch. You've got so many heroes. If they're all dead, you're probably in a little bit of trouble anyway. So he had Kairos Fate Weaver, and he'd gone for an extra spell and extra artifact. So he's got a ton of utility here from his Warlord battalions. So many drops in this army. He was 9 drops. Wasn't going for low drops. I mean, once you get to that point of being more than 4, so 5 or more drops, I don't think you should be aiming to stay low drops anymore. You should put in some screens and aim just to get your army list right, and make sure you've got your screens in there to protect your army so it can do what it does. If you're not 4 drops, it probably lowers your chance at least by 50% of getting the first turn, and then, you know, you're generally going to get outdropped by those 1, 2, and 3 drop armies that have the potential to be there as well. But anyway, like I said, he's got the extra spell picked, which is just really solid. It allows him just to have more utility with every single caster. So he's got Boulder Zinch and Zinch's Firestorm on Kairos. He's then got Fold Reality and Arcane Transformation on a Blue Scribes. He's got a Change Caster, Herald of Zinch, with the artifact, the Fanged Circlet, which I'm pretty sure is from this particular sub-faction. And then he's got the spells Angelic Mutation and Treason of Zinch on that. Magister on Disc of Zinch is his general. Command trait Spell Hunters, and the artifact, the Arcane Tome. And he's got Shield of Fate and Glimpse the Future on him. So pretty cool. Extra ability for some casting there. He's then got Bellicor in there as an ally, and a great Bray Shaman as well as a Coalition with Flaming Weapon and Ghost Mist. Pretty solid, because it means that Bray Shaman can be really, really useful. The ability to use like Devolve through the spell portal is really cool, because generally Zinch's spells aren't going to be in range turn 1. So what he does with the Great Bray Shaman is you'll cast out the Umbral Spell Portal with someone else, or even the Great Bray Shaman itself, and then use its War Scroll spell Devolve to drag something closer to your lines, and then hit them with all the mortal wound damage spells the army can muster, as well as all the shooting attacks from the Horrors and Karak Acolytes as well. It's a really cool little play to enable you to take something off turn 1 that your opponent might actually think is safe. Battle line wise, 2 units of 10 Pink Horrors. Pink Horrors are just super solid as a battle line option. And 10 Karak Acolytes, I'm assuming they're only because of Horrors are too expensive in that last slot. Though they do generate an extra point because they can cast a spell, which is pretty cool. It's got the Spell Portal and the Cogs there for some utility throughout the army. Cogs is almost always going to be giving an extra spell to one of his wizards. So that's super useful. And then, like I said, double Warlord, giving him a spell and an artifact. 1985, 15 points under. Chance of getting +1 wound aren't the greatest, but it could be really good on like a round of shooting with those Horrors if they get it in, or even a combat phase with Bellicor is really useful for. No reinforced units, and Bellicor taking up those ally points as well. And then he's got 79 wounds and 9 drops as mentioned. A really solid sort of Zinch list that really just tried to summon. He generally had like an extra unit of Horrors out turn 1, which is super solid, so just nice. And then in third, but certainly not least of the 3 armies we're sort of looking at here, we have our Skaven list run by Wayne, Buck of the Beers of Sigmar. So he had to go through Slaanesh, Slaves to Darkness, the Archaon Bellicor army. Sons of Behemar was his loss. This was playing our eventual winner, Mark, in this. Soulblight Gravelords, the Vrykos list, and then Sons of Behemar, again, the 3 Mega 3 Baby list. And so he was playing Skaven Tide, Hold the Line, and Triumph Inspired there. But really, the big thing of this list was that it had 3 major sort of power play parts. So he had the Arch Warlock as his general with Verminous Valor, Vigor Dust Injector, and Law of Warp Vault Galvanism. More warp power. He then had Thanquol with 2 Braces and 2 Warpfire Projectors for a great bit of utility, and the spell Death Frenzy, and then had a Clawlord with the Mighty Warlord command trait Verminous Valor as well. He then had 30 Storm Vermin and then 2 units of 20 Clan Rats, filling out his battle line, 6 Storm Fiends and 10 Night Runners, all wrapped up in a battle regiment, which made him a 1-drop army. And so what this list really did is you generally had like these 3 main places of power. You had the Storm Vermin, the Storm Fiends, and Thanquol, and he used these parts to sort of take apart the opponent's army, protecting them with the Clan Rats that were there. The Night Runners also served a fantastic purpose as a really good screen to sort of push back your opponents, and just sort of move them and keep them sort of things you don't want to go in and lock out of combat. And generally, that was the idea. Keep everything at bay and send in the Storm Vermin and Thanquol when needed, and use the Storm Fiend's good shooting output to really put the damage into the opponent's lines. 140 wounds is no mean as well. This is the same as the Gargant's list, so there's a lot of wounds on the table, and those Storm Fiends do take a fair bit of killing. 30 Storm Vermin can really pack a punch. They combine with that Clawlord for the +1 attack, putting them up to 3 attacks each is just really solid. You can combine this with Death Frenzy, that just get even more scary. And then Thanquol himself, the ability to have both and both. There wasn't an awful lot of hordes, and the horde meta does seem to be dropping it down, so I think the 2 and 2 is a really solid choice there out of the weapons for Thanquol. And then, yeah, the Arch Warlock, he just sat around those Storm Fiends and made them all the better. Storm Fiends with the wind launches for the not needing line of sight. Rattling Cannons just really take in the +1 damage abilities really well, and Shock Gauntlets are great as well. So a really solid, just one-drop Skaven list all together. This was really well played. I mean, it beat some really good lists in the Archaon Bellicor combo, and also a Sons of Behemoth list and a good Soulblight list. This just really performed well, and Wayne deserves all the credit. He's been playing Skaven for ages and did really, really well with them. But that is our top 3 lists. What did you think of them? Love to hear from everyone on what you thought, and I hope to see a few more faces next year at the Cinderfall Gaming GT 2021. And so that's the end of the video. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fine little community here at Cinderfall Gaming, you can do so by following the link in the video's description to our Discord server. Lastly, if you'd like to help support the channel in another way, you can do so by either Patreon or YouTube members, or going and purchasing some merch from Teespring, on which you'll find all the links for Patreon, YouTube members and Teespring in the description of the video as well. Lastly, we'd like to give a shout out to all our patrons and YouTube members who help support the channel. It's amazing what you do, and it really helps us get more and more stuff out for the channel. So thank you to our patrons: Christian Weir, James Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lyle, Outer and Shop First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, Dynet226, Anton Nielsen, JJ Austrian, and Average Wargamer. And a special shout out to our YouTube members as well: Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Steve T, The Real Zeop, Chris Wallace, Turai12, Vinny, Lock Lorick, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, and Revan R. Lastly, a special shout out first of all to Lady Witchfox Art for doing all the amazing artwork for the channel you can see here, and to Xmorphic as well for doing an amazing job doing all the background work on our Discord server. Thank you to everyone once again for watching. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, comment below. Thank you all. Stay safe everyone, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.